Okay, welcome back. If you are liking this content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. That would really help me out. And feel free to ask any questions or send me any messages. I love to hear feedback from you guys. So next we are going to actually train our model or fit our model. So to do that, we're going to create a function here. We'll call it fit model. So I'm going to go back up here just to kind of make this separated function, and we'll call this define fit model. And this function is going to pass in our model. We're going to have to pass in our training data set, and we're going to pass in our validation data set. And we're going to pass in epochs. This is the number of epochs that we will use. And inside of this function, let's save the history in a variable called history. The history is going to be the loss and accuracy over time, so we can plot that later, which is kind of explained quite well in the tutorial on the website. But anyways, the history is just going to be equal to model.fit. So this is our training routine. And x is going to be our training data. So we'll say x is equal to our training data set. Our validation is equal to our val data set. And finally, epochs will be equal to epochs. Okay, so this is going to be our fit function. We could directly call this right down here if we wanted to, but I like to kind of keep things separated so I can break them up in code later. So down here we're going to call fit model, and we're going to pass in our model, our training data set, our val data set, and finally we're going to pass in the epochs. So we can set the epochs equal to, I think they're using 10 in the tutorial, so we'll start with that. We'll pass in our epochs here. So this will train the model. And then after the model is trained, we want to save this model so that we can use it and reuse it on any type of data. So to do that, we're going to call model.save. And we're going to select the file path, the directory. And then there's some other options in here like overwrite. You could set this to false if you're worried about accidentally overwriting data. I'll just leave it to the default. So we'll save it in our current directory /models, and we'll call this maybe model 1. So we'll save it. Okay, so sorry, before we get training, I want to make sure we return this history. So jump back over to the fit model function and do return history here. Oops, I got it indented. There we go. Oops, I've got it inside of the fit function. That's the problem. There we go. Okay, so we want to capture this history and then return it because we'll be able to plot it. And I'm not going to go through matplotlib details. What we can do is I'm just going to copy this code. So just copy this from TensorFlow tutorials, image classification, or you can just type it in if you'd rather do that. I'm going to make a function called, we'll say plot history. We'll pass in our history. And I'm doing this just so that we can follow along with the tutorial. But there's nothing magical happening here. It's basically taking that history from the fit, and it's going to give us some parameters that we can then track over time. Okay, now that we've got our function here, plot history, we are going to say history equals fit model, since we want to save that history. We can save this model, and after we save the model, we will plot the history. Okay. So again, what we're doing here is we're going to build our model. We're going to train, fit our model. After the training, we're going to save it so that we can use it on other data in the future. And then we're going to plot it, and the plot's going to let us look at, the loss in accuracy over time, so it gives us an idea of how the fitting and the training is working out. So I'm going to hit run, and I'm going to ignore all this stuff. It should run just fine. Let's see here. Okay, so it's running. It's going to run for 10 epochs, and you don't have to watch it very intently, but what we're going to be looking for is our loss decreasing over time? Is our accuracy increasing over time? And after this has a chance to run for 10 epochs, I will skip the video forward. So see you in a little bit. Okay, so welcome back. So I just finished my 10 epochs, and I actually switched over to my terminal just to make things a little easier instead of the code. So each epoch, we're measuring the loss and the accuracy of both the training and the validation. And the reason we're doing that is we're trying to check for overfitting. And I'm going to explain in the next video in a moment what overfitting is, but you can see that over time, the accuracy of our model with respect to training went up. It went up quite high to maybe 75, 76%, which is reasonable, I guess. But even though our training kept getting better, the accuracy of the model with respect to our training data kept getting better, our validation data wasn't getting better, and maybe it even started to get a little bit worse if we kept doing this. And the reason is that we're training over and over and over again on the same training data. We're not really learning new information. We're just kind of adding the same information over and over again. And what that's going to cause is a problem with generalization. What that means is that our model might become very accurate with respect to our training data. Maybe we could get this to 100%. But when we try to generalize it, when we put other things in there that it hasn't seen before, it's not going to work at all. So I'm going to explain that in the next video. So we're going to stop here. So what we've done so far is we've trained a model. We've maybe not done a great job, but we've got our first training result. And because we use this model.save, if you go to the folder that you selected, I chose models, model 1, we'll be able to reload this model and use this again in the future if we want to. So this is kind of a pipeline for building, fitting, or training, and then saving a model. So in the next video, let's talk about overfitting and how we're going to address that. So I'll see you in the next video.